This is the infotainment system that you're going to find inside of the BMW i4 and a few other BMW vehicles, but it is a feature-packed infotainment system. You've got your home screen here, and then you've also got the flexibility of moving up and down between different subscreens. So if you wanted a different widget along the outside, you'd have the flexibility of adjusting that out as necessary. Useful. You can search for addresses for factory navigation. You can look for charge options, change up your heading. We'll get to actually using the maps in a second. Along the very top, you can tap here to see if there are notifications that were available. Your current traffic information. Clicking on different audio sources. You can adjust your radio, and then you've also got your date and time setting, and then there's this little square in the middle, and then that's going to be your different profile options. One of the big benefits of having multiple options set up is that if you've got different people inside of your vehicle, they've searched for addresses, maybe you've got your preset set up, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto's there, things like that, you'd be able to set it up for each individual profile, just depending on the number of people that are driving. You've got your climate control settings that are baked right into the screen, so you can easily adjust it this way. You've got some hot button pushes to get to some different options along the bottom, your phone, etc. Now, you're also going to notice me either touching the screen to move through, but then you might see me jump into different screens or different options without actually touching the screen. Because yeah, it's a touch screen here, but down the center stack there, you've also got all of the different options along the right-hand side. So you've got a button push to get to your media, home, map, phone, navigation. There's a basic back button there, and then you've also got a little rotary dial, so you can move that in order to be able to zoom in and out on the map. When you're on different screens, you'd also be able to move up and down too, in order to move between different options. So let's go ahead and I'll kind of dive line by line and show you everything that you need to know. So along the very bottom there, you've got your available media, Spotify, presets, SiriusXM, radio, etc. If you had a USB stick with MP3s on there, you'd also be able to listen to audio that way. You can change out your different audio sources, Spotify, presets, podcasts, things like that. If we hop into, let's say, FM radio, you've got all of your available stations, and you'll see some of them are duplicated a few times because some stations broadcast digitally, so using HD radio data, and that's going to show all of the information up along the top there. So if that's available, that would show up. You can save any station as a preset. All you're going to do to tune to whatever station, just tap Save Preset, and that saves it in as a preset. You can tune to stations this way, kind of using this manual dial if you'd like to, which is kind of neat. You can adjust some sound settings, but you can also change stations a few different ways. So if we are back in our audio there, or even if you're not, tap the voice command prompt on the steering wheel. 94.9 FM.
Okay, I've set the frequency 94.9.
Boom. And you can see there, you can adjust out to a different station that way. So you could increase, decrease the volume this way. You can do it down the middle there, but you can also take the buttons in the middle and you could change between all of your available stations this way, but if you scroll up and down using the wheel this way, that brings you in a little sub-menu. And when you do that, you can move left or right in order to jump between all of your available sources, including jumping into your presets that way. So if you wanted to move between all of the presets that you've currently saved in, you'd have the flexibility of being able to do that. I find that's pretty useful. And then you saw there, so it's a mix, AM, FM, SiriusXM. You can save it as a different station if you'd like to. You can see some related content. Tap in the middle in order to be able to see a full screen view. You can see favorites, you can browse, so if you wanted to go based off of a category view, you'd have that flexibility. On your audio screen there, you've got your sound settings, and sound settings gives you a boatload of different options. You can adjust your treble, mid-range, bass, etc. One thing that I'd recommend, so something like this, your treble kind of down, maybe up a point, your bass cranked a few points, you can adjust out your balance, fade, you want it front, rear focused, etc. You can adjust it this way. You can kind of fine tune it this way if you'd like to on top of that. So I do recommend playing with these. So play one of your favorite songs, and while it's playing, adjust these until it sounds perfect for your ears. You can look at some advanced settings there too, so your master volume, and then you can adjust out volume for individual options there too. You can reset everything, so if you essentially want to just bring everything back to the default there and then adjust it out based off of your own personal comfort level. Simple. But that's using media inside of the ride. Next up is going to be using factory navigation. So this is the main nav screen. You can tap that nav screen there in order to get to a full screen view. Easily move across. You've got full pinch to zoom capabilities. You can search for addresses, tapping there to go to a home address if it's set up. You can tap here to see different charging stations that were available, so it'll take a second to load up. You can see all the different charging stations, and then whether it's level 1, level 2, and whether or not that station's actually available. Pretty simple. And then in order to be able to go to any of these places, you just go, start guidance, more information, see what else is nearby. But let's just go ahead, start guidance. You can see there, we've got our guidance route that's available there. If you wanted to take a different route, you can easily select it. You can tap this in order to see different options that were available. So recent destinations, tap again in order to see future destinations where you can set home or work for your address. So if you hit the voice command prompt, you'd be able to say, navigate home, navigate to work, etc. And it's going to navigate based off of the addresses that you have set up there. Back in order to mute out, you can mute out notifications if you'd like, or hit some advanced options. You can look at different charging options, so charging route, where it's going to automatically add in charge stations based off of the current route that you're taking. There's different things you can exclude if you'd like along the way, different things for route criteria. Do you want to use highways, toll roads, ferries, things like that? Carpool lanes, do you want to avoid them? Yay, nay. Do you want the map to automatically zoom in or out as you get closer to that next part of the route that you're taking? Different options for guidance. Do you want to see 3D options there? You can adjust the volume there if you'd like. You've got some configuration options that are available there too. Do you want your maps to update automatically, etc.? Demo mode there too. Now, one nice thing, we've got a map that's currently set up inside of the cluster screen. So you've got your cluster there. If you take the option on the steering wheel, so the bottom one there in the middle, you can then move up and down between different options. So if you wanted to show kind of minimalist content, you could. Dropping down a level, it's going to show you basics, so nothing exciting there, but then look at that little mapping cluster. So you can see what's going on along the route. If you had a head-up display, that would also show up, but knowing that you can do full mapping cluster without having to look off to the side is actually a pretty useful one on top of that. I'm personally a bigger fan of just the simplified mode, but that comes down to a matter of preference. Now, from here, you could search for another address or destination. So maybe you wanted to grab a coffee while you're waiting for, there we go, while you're waiting for your car to charge up. So let's go ahead and let's just choose a random one there. Start guidance, or you can add it in as a stop. So start guidance means that it would overwrite the existing route, or you can add it in as a stop if you'd like to. And you've got the options here. So we're going to stop at the Tim Hortons, and then we're going to go charge up. You can hit this in order to drag it around. So maybe you wanted to charge up first, back down this way, and then just start guidance. If there were additional routes that were available, you could look at any of the available options and then just tap in order to start. Simple. You could look at alternative routes, routes manager, things like that, or exit out in order to cancel the route out completely. If you tap search here, you can see the addresses that you've previously saved. Push and hold. It's going to let you show details. You can delete the individual entry. You can delete all of your search history too. So if you wanted to delete all, you can see there, it's gotten rid of all of the addresses that you've searched for. That's how you use factory navigation inside of the ride. Next up, you've got climate control settings here too. So climate control settings are baked right into the screen. You could look at individual settings, driver versus passenger side, and then second row. You could lock out the rear climate control so people in the second row can't use climate. So if they're fighting, let's see here, you could set the temperature, lock it out, etc. Preconditioning is available here too. So you can start it now, or you can set up a departure plan. So if you know that maybe it's just a one-off, where tomorrow you want to wake up nice and early in order to have the vehicle nice and toasty for you, you can set that up. If you leave the same time, let's say Monday to Friday, you'd have the flexibility of setting up a departure time. So what you're doing is you're essentially preconditioning the cabin to be nice and cool, nice and warm, whatever the case may be, based off of different schedules. So you can set up multiple schedules if you'd like. So if you know you're leaving from home, 8:15 Monday to Friday, you're leaving from work, same idea, Monday to Friday at a certain time, you'd have the flexibility of doing it, and then you can toggle these on or off if you'd like to. One of the big benefits of preconditioning is that if you're plugged in, that means that you're not wasting battery or juice unnecessarily. So the cabin's going to be cool or it's going to be hot based off of your personal preferences, based off of this cycle. And that's the basics of climate. Now, one neat thing, so the climate controls are baked into the screen. You can tap the voice command prompt, increase fan speed by 1.
Increased by 1 level in the front.
So you could adjust your fan speed that way if you'd like to. You could adjust this way. Do you want your air conditioning going? Do you want it going to your windshield face feet? Some sort of Frankenstein combination. You can adjust this out slightly different. So if you want your passenger side facing feet, etc. You can toggle it off. Next up, if you hit this button, that's every app that's available inside of the vehicle. So your IDs, things like that. We'll go line by line in a second there. You can see just infotainment options, vehicle options, recently used. So let's go all apps. You've got your BMW ID, personal assistance available there too. So if you wanted to see different command options that you could do, different questions, answers, etc., it is a very, very useful system. So what I'd recommend is when you get your BMW, jump inside here and see everything that you can do, because yeah, all the controls are inside of the infotainment system, but you can control almost everything using your voice. Open or close the sunroof if you'd like to. You can adjust the display if you'd like, so toggle the display off. Live vehicle options, what's your tire pressure like, things like that. All controlled using your voice. From there, you've got Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. So actually on that note, let's go ahead and we'll add in a phone, starting off on the iPhone side of things. What we're gonna do, let's actually tap the phone option there and connect a new phone. And on your phone there, oh, perfect, there we go. We've got the iPhone 14. PIN numbers match up, so let's go ahead and pair. Do you want all contacts and messages to sync up? This is not my car, so I'm saying no. If it was yours, you could say yes there. And you can stop here, so you can use just Bluetooth if you wanted to make phone calls or stream audio, but you've also got wireless Apple CarPlay. You can have it listen for, hey Siri, or long button push in order to get your Siri assistant to go. But let's go ahead and hit continue. And then on my phone, it's saying, do you want to use CarPlay with this BMW? Let's go ahead. Boom, look at that. Now we are fully connected. For CarPlay, you've got your current time, connection, and battery level. And then these are the apps that were last opened. So you've got your last open map, audio application, miscellaneous. You can tap there in order to go to this home screen. Tap again to get to the icon view and easily swipe across. Inside of CarPlay, you've got Apple Maps, Google Maps, and Waze. But the downside is that CarPlay, it doesn't support pinch to zoom capabilities inside of any map application. That's one thing that I would like to see changed, but you've at least got the option of dragging around. I am personally a bigger fan of using Waze because as you start to drive, if there are speed traps set up, if there are accidents on the highway, things like that, people are really good at marking that type of stuff off. And you can mark things off. So if you notice that there's a speed trap, crashes, hazards, things like that, you can give other drivers a heads up. You've got Flow and ChargePoint, which are charging apps. You've got podcasts that are available, audiobooks and things like that. So there is a lot of flexibility here. You can tap settings in order to be able to adjust things. Do you want it driving focused? Maybe you're not a fan of the default wallpaper. Maybe you've got a color scheme that works better for you, that maybe speaks to you a little bit more. You know, the flexibility of adjusting it out if you'd like to. Then you've also got the option of adjusting these icons out a tiny little bit. But before we get there, if you tap the voice command prompt on the steering wheel, so a light button push is going to be the assistant for the vehicle. But if you take that same button and do a long push and hold, that is going to bring up your Siri assistant. So short button push is the assistant for the infotainment system. Long push is for Siri. Let's see if you can't even get to this step because CarPlay is not even connecting. Check down in the description of this video. I've put together a little walkthrough explaining how you can do some typical CarPlay fixes if it's giving you a problem. The home screen for CarPlay is kind of customizable. You'll always have the map that was open last in the middle. Along the outside, there'll always be the search box and then whatever audio application you were last listening to. If you have a calendar notification coming up today, that would show up. If there was no notification coming up today that hasn't passed, the search box and the audio box would be stretched along the top there. Now, in order to be able to customize the icon tray here, what you're going to do, go into your settings, general, and then CarPlay. You just find your vehicle. You've got enhanced integration. There's the option of customizing though. So let's say if you're not a fan of the app icon layout, you're just going to grab the hamburger icon along the outside, move it to the top. Same idea. Move it around. So you can adjust out the icon layout there if you'd like to, removing apps that you know you're never going to use. If you've played around with the icon layout too much and you don't like what you've done, along the top right side of the phone, there's a reset option. So you'd have reset, reset, and that's just going to bring you back to that default icon layout. Then one thing you might have noticed here is the option for enhanced integration. So if you toggle enhanced integration on, what that's going to let you do, let's get Waze going and let's find a random route. choose Whitby here. But when you've got enhanced integration activated and you've got navigation going, inside of the cluster screen, if you tap the button in the bottom there now, move down into your content there, so your map view, you've got Waze showing up with your turn-by-turn directions there. I love it. So that's strictly going to be available when you've got that enhanced integration option activated. But if you didn't, it would just be factory navigation inside of the cluster screen. But that's pretty neat. In order to get back home, you can tap the home icon along the very bottom. You can tap back in here in order to get back into CarPlay. You can also tap the CarPlay icon along the very bottom to do it that way instead. Pretty easy. If you go into your mobile devices, you can see here I'm currently connected to the iPhone for CarPlay. But if you wanted to disconnect from CarPlay, strictly be hooked up for phone calls, you'd have the flexibility of being able to do that. So it's disconnecting CarPlay over Wi-Fi and setting up over Bluetooth instead. But that's how you set up Apple devices inside of this ride. Setting up Android devices is pretty simple. If you weren't on this screen, so let's say you're back on the home screen, you're just tapping the app icon, mobile devices, and then connect a new device. And then you've got available devices there. On the phone, same idea. We're just looking for BMW. Let's look for the device here. PIN numbers do not match up. That's a first. So what happens if we do that? Let's hit OK. All right, well, we're connecting, which is great. And so you can stop here. You can use Bluetooth if you want, so just streaming audio and then making phone calls, but you can also use Android Auto. So let's go ahead, use Android Auto. That. Then on the screen, do you want to allow access to contacts and messages? This is not my car, but welcome to Android Auto. Just click continue. And a few seconds in, look at that. We are fully connected. On Android Auto, you've got your current time, connection, and battery level. You've got your map option there, so tapping in to get you to a little split screen, or tap again in order to get to your full screen maps, which is pretty nice. You've got some basic apps along the outside. You've got your voice assistant that way too. Same idea, so you can do a light tap on the steering wheel to get the assistant for the vehicle, or a long button push and hold in order to bring up your phone assistant. You can tap here in order to get to this little icon tray on top of that. Let's say if you've got Waze installed on your Android device, but it's not showing up there, check down in the description of this video. I've put together a little walkthrough explaining how you can add Waze into Android devices if it's not showing up. But the system here is simple. Tap there, as I mentioned, to go full screen. You've got full pinch to zoom capabilities available on the Android side of things, which is great. And we've also got all of the different charge points. It's like the vehicle or the phone is recognized that we're currently in an EV, and it's shown all of those options there too. Then you've got the option of customizing the icon layout here a tiny little bit. So on your phone, if you search for Android Auto, go into Android Auto settings, you've got all of the available options. Click on Customize Launcher. Anything with a little checkbox next to it, you can either add it in or remove it from the screen. And then you can just do a drag and drop in order to be able to adjust out the icon layout if you'd like to. It's not dynamic, so for these changes to come into effect, tap this button along the very bottom, go to your mobile devices. All you're going to do is disconnect from Android Auto. So we're just going to click off there, disconnecting. Let's reconnect to Android Auto. Hop into the icon tray, and you can see there the changes that we made have now come into effect. So it's not dynamic, but you can still adjust out the icon layout if you'd like. Tapping the button there again, let's go back to mobile devices. And you've got both phones that have been connected. So you can either be hooked up to Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, not both of them simultaneously, but you could do a mix and match. So let's say if, I don't know, let's disconnect Android Auto there. Maybe you want to have one phone connected for phone calls and another phone connected for media. So you can kind of do a mix and match this way. So after that loads up. So if we wanted to, we're now using the Samsung device for phone calls and the iPhone for media. So you can kind of do a mix and match that way if you'd like to. Clicking back in, you could then disconnect or fully remove the device. Same idea. Reconnect to Android Auto, select which options you'd like there. Device settings gives you some different options, different ringtone options, etc. But you can also easily remove the device and look at that, set to go. But that's how you set up Android and iPhone devices inside of this ride. If you tap on settings, that's going to let you change out the Bluetooth name. So if you don't want it to be the default BMW 7639 or whatever your BMW is, you'd have the flexibility of adjusting it out to whatever you'd like. You can also toggle Bluetooth off, which means that Bluetooth wouldn't work for any devices inside of the ride. I just recommend keeping that one enabled, but it's a matter of preference there. But that's how you set up devices inside of the BMW i4. From here, let's see. So we've got Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. There's connected drive store where you'd be able to purchase additional apps if you'd like to. Not a fan of that one, but you could if you'd like. Charging options now too. You've got your charging mode available, so you can charge immediately, so you plug in and it'll just start charging, or you can set a time slot. So once we set a departure option there, so let's just select one of these randomly and hop back, you've now got a time slot. So where this comes into play is maybe you only want to charge up at certain times. So if you know you're going to get cheap electricity rates from 7 p.m. until 8 a.m., you'd have that flexibility. So it's only going to charge up during those windows, or just charge up whenever you'd like to. You can set your departure plans, which we've seen earlier, so you can set up multiple departure options based off of the date and time that you tend to leave. You can adjust your charging limit too. So I recommend, if you're just a regular wall plug at home, you're probably okay with like anywhere between 6 and 12 amps, just depending on the type of outlet that you've got, but you can also max it out. Where this comes into play, let's say if you're using a public charger and you're plugged in but it's not charging, it could be that there's something wrong with the charge cable itself. So what I'd recommend is playing with your charge limit in order to be able to adjust out the amperage that it's pulling in. So one of the big benefits there is that if the charge station's not working at something like, let's say 48, you set it at 16 and it'll work, but it'll also slow down the amount of charge that the vehicle can accept. You could set a current charging target. Where that comes into play, like what I normally recommend, keep yourself in like the 80 to 85-ish% range, unless you're going on a distance drive using the vehicle tomorrow. Because doing something like that is going to give you the best possible life that you can out of the battery. But again, if you're going to be going tomorrow or within the next day or so, a longer distance trip, charge yourself up to 100. You can unlock the charge cable. There's preconditioning, plug and charge, nothing exciting. How loud do you want the fan to be? And then you've got location-based charge settings on top of that. So do you want different settings available based off of where you're currently plugged in? It's pretty simple using this. Climate control options jumps us back to the climate screen there. Digital keys available. You can adjust out the display. So looking at the cluster screen, you can configure the content. Do you want to show your route preview, the G meter, media, radio, things like that? So if you didn't want certain things to show up, so as we go into, let's see, we've got our different screens. So you've got the G meter screen available there. If you didn't want these types of things to show up, you could deselect it. And that just like fully pulls it out. Do you want turn-by-turn directions to show? Yay, nay. Do you want converted speed? Yes or no? So if you're going cross-border, you can see both speed options that are available there. And then there's also speed limit assistance. So on the steering wheel, you've got your limiter button there. What that one's going to do is you can set it at whatever speed you'd like. So it kind of works the same way as cruise control. So you'd set it at whatever speed. And then when you go to hit the accelerator pedal, it's going to essentially pull back as you approach that maximum limitable speed. Useful if you've got a lead foot. You could keep on pressing the accelerator pedal in order to go past your limited speed. But when you do that, inside of the infotainment system, you can get a warning when you're speeding. You can get different adjustments here too. I'm not a fan of using that. Just watch it. It's that electric cars, it is very, very easy to speed. So you can set different options there if you'd like. For your display, you can turn off the display if you'd like to. So one second there. Button push to bring it back to life. You can also adjust the brightness there if you'd like with some different system settings. We'll get to that one last. And back. Doors and windows, you can lock, unlock. When do you want the doors to automatically unlock? When you go to lock the vehicle, do you want to get any sort of notifications or feedback? Do you want the mirrors to fold in automatically? Do you want the doors to automatically unlock when you shift into park? Basic comfort options. Do you want the doors to automatically lock or unlock? So as you approach the vehicle or walk away. There's a digital key, some basics here for the tailgate. And then automated window too. So automated window gives you the flexibility of setting up when the windows are going to automatically open or close just based off of where you're currently located. I'm not a fan of using that setting. You could, but let's hop outside and I'll show you how a few of these ones work. Opening up the trunk, just push and hold in order to open. There is a foot activated option here too. You can use your foot in order to be able to open or swipe. in order to close. And then through the fob, there's also an auto lock feature. So hold on, watch this. Walk away with the fob on you. The doors are automatically going to lock. And then there's one key fob trick that you can do, and that's rolling the windows up and down. So go ahead and push the unlock button twice. You're just gonna go 1, 2, and hold. Windows go down. You can release it to pause it, push and hold again in order to continue the process. So it's all 4 windows, and look at this. It's also opening up the sunroof. Same idea, you release in order to pause. Push and hold the lock button, and it's gonna reverse the process. So up the windows go, it's gonna close that sunroof there too. That's pretty neat. I love that the global window up and down is exactly that, up and down. Great. You've got some driving settings that are available, and these are basic. So this one doesn't have the advanced safety package. So if we look on the steering wheel, you've just got regular cruise control inside of this one. In order to use it, it's simple. So you could toggle it on by pushing the button in the middle. That'll set it at your current speed. You can lightly push up or down, or you can push and hold in order to increase 1 kilometer, 1 mile per hour at a time. Pushing and holding is going to go up or down 1 kilometer, 1 mile at a time fairly fast. But if you click up or down, what that one's going to do is increase you 10 kilometers an hour at a time or 5 miles per hour at a time. You can change your speed out if you'd like to. You can resume. So if you hit the brake to cancel your speed or hit cancel, you push there to resume again. If you're the type of person where you go on distance drives, you spend time on the highway, interstates, things like that, go for the advanced safety package with adaptive cruise, because it gives you the adaptive cruise, you set it and forget it, instead of just the basic. On top of that, there are lane steering options, lane centering options, and things like that. It just makes it a way better system, in my opinion. This one doesn't have it. That's one thing that I would absolutely add in. There's blind spot detection there too, so if somebody enters the blind spot on either side of the vehicle, it's going to highlight right there in order to let you know that somebody's entered the blind spot on either side. You can get a speed warning if you're going a little bit too fast. Not a fan of that one again, but you could toggle it on off. Simple. Different options for parking, cross traffic alert. So as you go to back up, pull forward, if there's an obstacle coming next to you from the left or the right side, it's gonna let you know of a potential collision. You can adjust the volume there. Your parking guidelines are there too. So as you go back, you've got a series of different guidelines, and I love the way that BMW has done this. So as you go to rotate the wheel, you can see what's going on, your different parking angles, things like that. The front sensing system, the rear sensors are there. But one neat thing is it's almost got like an AR element to it. So if you get closer to obstacles, it's going to let you know using this pretty neat view on the screen there. I love the way that BMW has done that, but you can get rid of those guidelines if you really don't like them. Options for driving, speed limit assistant. Some of these will look slightly different depending on which packages you've added on. And then you've got a vibration. So let's say if there's something going on inside of the vehicle. So whether that's a safety system, you're pulling forward, backwards a little bit too much. If you're veering over into another lane without signaling, it's gonna give you a steering wheel vibration. Almost like you're running over rumble pavement, or there's something wrong with your alignment. There's not, it's just that you might be entering another lane without signaling, or there's something going on. So the vehicle is just trying to give you a heads up that there's something happening with one of the safety systems. You can adjust out your drivetrain chassis, so there are different modes that are available here. The sounds are kind of neat, but you've got the option of adjusting out different modes. So down the middle, you've got your drive mode selector, so you can move between either a sport mode, there's comfort, or there's an available eco mode. But you've got the option of adjusting out these modes to kind of be unique for you. So with your sport mode here, sport steering, it stiffens things up. Feels really good. You can change out your drivetrain responsiveness too. You can do the same thing when you're in your eco mode. So when you're in your eco mode, what climate control settings and options do you want to have enabled? Yay, nay. So you've got, again, 3 different options there. What I'm going to recommend on highways or interstates, if you're just cruising, go to your Eco Pro. If you're just kind of doing day-to-day driving, city driving, etc., you might want to be in comfort. If you want the best possible performance inside of the ride, go for the sport mode. It is a heck of a lot of fun. And when you do that, when you move between modes, it also changes up the look of the cluster screen a tiny little bit. I personally am a big fan of driving that sport mode, but that comes down to a matter of preference. You can adjust out some charge settings. So you'll see a few of these things you can get to on different screens. There's options for exterior lighting with your turn signal. Do you want to have just a single turn or 3 at a time there? Now, BMW drivers, sometimes they don't use them at all, but at least it's there. You can go 1 or 3. Welcome and goodbye. Pathway lighting. When you go to lock the vehicle, how long do the outside lamps stay on for? So you can go 10 seconds at a minimum up to, 240 seconds at a maximum. So depending on how far your vehicle is away from, or your driveway is from your front door. You've got your radio there, interior lighting. There's ambient light. You can toggle it off completely, but you can also adjust it out to whatever color you'd like to. And it's very subtle inside of this ride. I absolutely love it. You can adjust the brightness. You can reduce it for nighttime driving. There's dynamic light, so it's going to look slightly different just based off of what's going on. So you get like different effects. It's kind of neat. Live vehicle lets you see everything that's going on with the vehicle. You can see if the battery temperature is okay, if service is needed. You can see your trip data information. So do you want to have all of your trip options? You can reset your individual counter there if you'd like to. There's different content available here too. It's kind of neat. Oh, I love that. And it's even in the color of this BMW too. I love it. Oh, simple, but neat all at the same time. And from here, if there are messages available inside of your phone, if it was connected, you can see your mobile devices, which we've already set those up. Navigation, hopping back into your nav screen. You can look at podcasts. There's an owner's manual. So if this video doesn't help out, you're getting weird messages in the cluster, you can see different options that are available. There is a personal hotspot available. You do need to have a data plan for the vehicle, but rather than connecting or using your phone's data, you'd be able to connect your phones to your vehicle and use that as a mobile hotspot. You can look at all of your presets, which we've already seen this. Back, there are seat comfort options too. So along the side there, all you're going to do is adjust the seat the way that you'd like. Once you do, just tap set, and then 1 or 2 for it to remember your own personal profile. There are climate control options. You've also got options for setting your seat up perfectly. SiriusXM there, Spotify. There are a boatload of system settings that are available here too. So you can adjust out the date and time, and these things are grayed out because you're in the auto mode. So if you toggle that off, you'd then be able to lock into a different time zone. Where that comes into play is, let's say if you live somewhere where you straddle a time zone and it's constantly flipping you from one to the other, you can lock it in to any of the options. You can adjust your date and time. Do you prefer to be in that military time? I prefer just the auto mode, but matter of preference on that. That's the same thing. So date and time gets grayed out when you're in that auto mode. Got some different language options available. Options for voice control too, so it can listen for Siri. You've got your BMW assistant. Do you want to get suggestions, notifications, voice output? You know, these are all pretty simple. You can have it listen for a wake word if you'd like to. So rather than hitting the voice command prompt, you could say, "Hello, BMW." And then that's going to activate the voice assistant. You've got time options for your trip data. Do you want to have it for individual settings since the factory, so since it's been reset essentially, or as of different options, so charging options, recenter it out. Measurement unit options are available there too. Do you want to be in either kilometers, miles, etc.? So you can adjust that out, and when you do, that's going to change up what's going on inside of the cluster screen. So you can see there, it changes it up based off of whether you're in kilometers or miles. How do you want your power measured? Kilowatt versus horsepower. Torque, same idea. Nm versus pound-feet. PSI, kPa, or bar for your tire pressure. And then you can also adjust out the temperature that you've got there too. There are some sound settings, which we've already seen, so adjusting your treble, mid-range, and bass. Do you want to get sounds for the touch screen, the touchpad settings, so your different settings down there. Do you want to have character input, map inputs? You can get pop-ups. There's nothing overly exciting in some of these things. That's why I'm kind of just glossing over them. Valet parking is optional there too. You can lock in a PIN. And one of the big benefits there with that set up and with it activated, a valet driver wouldn't be able to look through all of your different settings. So useful. You can use that if you're bringing your vehicle in for service, if you're leaving it with a valet driver, just from a safety perspective. Rear occupant alert. You go to turn the vehicle off. It's going to tell you to check the back seats. Let's see, do not disturb wireless charging with mobile phone reminder. If you've got a phone on the wireless charge pad, turn the vehicle off, go to leave. It'll give you a heads up that there's a phone there. You can reset all the vehicle data there too for the infotainment system. So if you're selling your vehicle, fully resets everything. There's a way to do a soft reboot. I'll show you towards the end of this infotainment walkthrough. And there, you've got your phone that you can connect to, your vehicle status, which we've already seen, weather, and then service information. So that is a heck of a lot of info. Underneath the screen, you've got a volume rocker, so you can adjust your audio this way, do it on the steering wheel, change between songs or stations that way, or songs or stations this way. There's a max defroster, front defroster, with your 4-way blinkers. You're going to find a wireless charge pad, a USB Type-A data transfer port, so if you wanted to plug in a USB stick with MP3s, that's where you're going. There's a 12-volt port with some cup holders. You could toggle traction control on-off, the park sensing system, so that beeping that you get as you get closer to obstacles. Auto hold's available there too, so with the auto hold setting turned on, if you're in drive, you come down to a complete stop, take your foot off the gas, or the brake I should say, and the vehicle is not going to move. You've got your parking brake there too. And then if the infotainment system's giving you problems, like let's say Apple CarPlay is not working, Android Auto's not working, or it's just glitching out on you, you can do a full factory reset, but like I said, it's going to get rid of everything. So your best bet is to take this little volume button in the very middle, and you're just going to push and hold it and just keep on hanging on. And what we're doing is entering a soft reboot cycle. It's very similar to you doing a reset on your phone. So we're essentially clearing the cache. After about 20 seconds or so, it takes a long time, it's going to fully reset the screen for you. So very similar to doing a reset on your phone. You can see there, screen goes blank. After about 30 seconds or so, you'll see it cycle back on. But that should solve the majority of issues that you're facing. So like I said, CarPlay's not working, Android Auto's not working, navigation's glitching out, you're getting some sort of weird problems or bugs inside of the infotainment system. That's what you're going to do in order to be able to fix it. If that doesn't work, do a full factory reset. If that doesn't work, you'll have to bring it into for service at your BMW dealership. I know that's a lot of information. That's everything you need to know, though, about the infotainment system inside of the BMW i4.